to Vet Inspo Talks. Happy to have a director of a DVM professional development of UC Davis here with us today. And we'll dive into preparing for vet school, professional development, and mental wellness.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to hear the questions that you have or maybe your viewers have.
Yeah.
And whatever I can share with about vet school.
Yeah. Can you please tell me a little bit more about yourself?
So my name is Amanda Steidlmayer,
Yes.
Director of Professional Development. I work mostly with the veterinary students who are going to earn their doctorates, then take their licensing and go and become veterinarians out in the world. My work currently focuses on supporting them in 3 ways. The first is with career preparedness, so kind of the traditional get ready for interviews, resumes, job search, externship searches, which is really important for veterinary training and preparation, and job placement. And then our second pillar is leadership, which can be the events and the clubs that run out of our office, because the School of Veterinary Medicine has over 30 clubs of various topics. And we also support the training as far as, client communication, how to stay organized, set goals, those kind of productivity skill sets, and then finally wellness. And we offer a training that I designed as part of a doctorate program that I'm in. Yeah, and the students have been great in helping with that. And we also have a psychology office with 3 psychologists to support the mental health of the students. So we really see ourselves as a kind of all-around resource for the vet students. At the level of professional education, it's really demanding, and it really is a lot of hours just at the school themselves.
Right.
So we want to provide as much as we can as people are, pursuing their goal and their dreams.
Yeah. And it's a great resource that you provide for all the students as well. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's such a joy to kind of work with all of the students. They are like I said, just so bright and so fun to be around. And usually people go to vet school because they are really bright.
Yeah.
And they are great students and they're high performers. But they also have like an altruistic personality. They really want to help others. They want to help animals. So they're just the kind of, positive people that make days in life, fun to be around.
Like you mentioned before, that support system that you have, your friends, your colleagues, they all help you if you're having a tough time during classes.
Right. And that's really kind of a part of the curriculum. I think that as individual learners, we get used to you read, and then you go to lecture, and then you study your notes, and then you get ready for a test, and maybe you have a study group, but really the study group is just kind of fun thing that you don't actually really study. And in professional school, especially the vet school, it's meant to be collaborative. You have to practice talking to each other. You have to share knowledge, because that's the way it is in the career, right? When you are trying to figure out a case, you don't just sit in a room by yourself trying to figure it out.
That's true.
You collaborate and you do what's best for the client, so that the skills are already being taught and practiced from day one.
I like that. That's great. Yeah. My second question is going to be, what are the main points someone should know before entering vet school?
So there's one is just kind of logistics about the admissions process. So if you are interested in applying to vet school, definitely do that. Start your career. But if you're not accepted the first year, don't take that to mean this isn't meant for you. It might be the timing is just off, given what a constraint that we have. And take that time to find a way to proceed in the career in a different way, like either work experiences or different educational programs. But don't take it that this destiny to be a veterinarian is over. It's not. The second thing, again, is kind of admissions-based, that you don't have to be an animal science biology background.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are prerequisites. You do have to have a foundation.
Right.
Because the learning is so fast. Once you get into the program, you want that foundation. They're doing you a favor by requiring it. But your major, we have had theater students. We've had art students, social sciences. So they really welcome the different backgrounds because, again, it's a collaborative learning process. And people who can bring in different perspectives and different skill sets, enhance the educational experience. I think the third thing that students should know is that you have to really enjoy the learning process and almost like the search for knowledge.
Okay.
And I know that's kind of vague, but what I see sometimes is that students are very good at being undergraduates. They're good at going into a class. They look at the syllabus and they master it all.
Nice.
And then they get an A. And I can say this because this is how I was. It took me a long time to figure out how to kind of break away from this mold. That's how I was. I just was like, okay, what do I need to get an A? Just let me do it. And I get it done. And then I would say, okay, I'm set. Where really the DVM curriculum and the DVM profession is much more about starting with a foundation of knowledge, but having the curiosity to ask the right questions, to dive into the information, to look for new information sources, to build group knowledge in order to treat the patient, to treat the case. So there's always an element of not having all the information you need, but having the enthusiasm and that inherent drive to find the answer. If you're an undergraduate student out there and you're going into a class and you're looking at a syllabus, don't just look at what the syllabus is saying to learn, but ask yourself and the professors, like, what's the next step? How would I apply this? Where does this knowledge come from? Is it universal? Can I apply it all the time or just certain cases? And really push how you digest and integrate that information with everything that you're learning.
Wow, that's great advice. Okay. I've never heard that before, but that makes sense. And that's great for our pre-vet students who are interested in seeing how they can improve for vet school and before they apply.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's almost the better the school you're at, the most difficult it is to do that, because the professors are so good at packaging it and putting parameters and helping you learn. But that's not the way knowledge really works, and that's not how information is going to be presented to you when you're working in a clinic or a hospital. It's going to come fragmented pieces. The animal can't talk, obviously. A lot of times the client doesn't know what to tell you. So you have to be able to really pull information to yourself and be willing to take those steps to solve a problem.
How do you believe a vet student or pre-vet student can work on their professional development during school?
Again, getting out and being around vets, and they will mentor you, and getting those mentors, getting that feedback, but always getting the feedback and then integrating it into your own identity. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to meet these external evaluations. Just try to take in as much as you can and integrate it to who you are and who you want to be.
Vet school can definitely be stressful at times. So how does one manage their mental wellness?
Right. So there's kind of 2 points. The first is that wellness obviously is unique to each person. So that's another reason why take these times in undergraduate education and see what works for you, see what you enjoy, and really develop that self-awareness, because you need that self-awareness in order to set boundaries and know what to ask for when you get into graduate school and the profession, and there's a lot of pressure on you. You have to have that foundation, because there's actually a lot of resources out there. As I mentioned, I think every veterinary school has some relationship with mental health and counseling within their university. So there are resources there. I am pretty sure that all veterinary schools provide mental health training, provide career training, and want to support the students. But again, a lot of times students are such high performers. They've always done so well. They're really hard on themselves. They tend to think, oh, if things aren't going well, it's because I'm doing something wrong or I'm deficient in some way, when they're not at all. They just need to ask and engage. So get used to doing that. Practice knowing what your needs are, what your boundaries are, and then practice articulating that to other people, because within the veterinary community, there's a lot of people who want to support you.
And then what are some resources that can help someone who is struggling with mental health?
So again, if you are on a campus, check in with your mental health resources. They're usually tied into like student health services, and there's counselors around. If you're at a vet school, there's usually an office like mine that has staff available for coaching and for psychological services. If you're not comfortable with that, there's often support groups within the veterinary profession.
Right.
This has actually been an area of growth. There's both mentorship programs and peer-to-peer
nice.
support groups. Again, just trying to find a way to make it easy for folks to reach out to others and have those conversations. And again, I think that when you're in graduate school, probably the best resource is your cohort. Because a lot of times you feel like, oh, this is just me struggling.
Yeah.
And it's not. And the more a group is open about that and the more they work together on that, I think overall I see better health within that group.
Nice.
Yeah.
And everybody's on the same boat.
Yeah.
They're going through this together.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so I even see that like in the hallway conversations where someone will say like, I didn't understand that lecture at all. I'm so far behind. And people say like, no one understood that lecture. It's not just you.
And it's reassuring.
Yes, it is reassuring. And then you find ways of working together instead of having to travel that challenge on your own. Yeah.
And then the last question that I always ask all of my speakers is, what would you tell your younger self if you can go back in time, and then why?
Right. If I were to speak to my younger self, who was very goal-oriented, very academically driven, and really wanted to perform at the highest rate all the time, I would coach myself on my tendency then to ignore a lot of wellness advice. And so instead of ignoring it, I wish I would have integrated it a little bit more and found a way to maybe take those suggestions but do something that works for me. But it is helpful to think about if you want to maintain a high performance over 20, 30 years, what do you need to incorporate into your performance that's going to help you sustain at the level that you want to sustain.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it's been great having you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Sharing your insightful knowledge with us. And for the audience, thanks for watching, and see you next time on Vet Inspo Talks.